Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're embarking on, well, a really fascinating exploration. We've pulled together an incredible stack of wisdom. We're talking ancient philosophers, modern business strategists, timeless personal insights. It's quite a mix. It's like a collection that bridges all these diverse voices, but they seem to be pointing to some universal truths,
Mm.
you know,
Mhm.
about approaching life, approaching ventures with more wisdom, more effectiveness.
Yeah, it's really striking when you look at it. You've got figures like the Stoics, Epictetus, and Seneca side by side with, say, the Christian thinker Saint Jerome, and then there's Eastern wisdom from Siddhartha, and even the modern management guru Peter Drucker. What's fascinating is how they all seem to converge on similar, really fundamental principles, especially for thriving in a world that feels pretty uncertain sometimes.
Yeah.
So this deep dive, it's really about distilling those key insights for you.
Right. And our mission today is pretty clear. We want to extract the most important, most potent nuggets of knowledge from all these sources. We'll explore how to navigate that uncertainty we mentioned, how to keep moving forward, how to build strong foundations in everything you do, really.
Yeah.
So, yeah, get ready for some, I think, surprising connections and definitely plenty of food for thought. Okay, so where do we start? Let's begin with something that sounds simple, but is actually incredibly powerful. It echoes through several sources. Let your faith be bigger than your fears.
Mm.
This isn't just like a nice saying, is it? It really speaks to the courage you need to act, to start something, even when you don't have all the answers, when the path isn't totally clear.
Absolutely. Think about those moments, maybe before a big presentation or launching something new, a new product maybe, or even a big personal decision. That uncertainty can feel, well, overwhelming. And this principle says your intuition, your belief in the process or in yourself, it has to somehow outweigh that fear. It reminds me of that playground slide analogy. The bravest people aren't the ones who feel zero fear. They're the ones who feel it, maybe just a little, and they go down the slide anyway. They act despite it.
I like that. Acting despite incomplete knowledge, it feels very real world.
Exactly. And that's foundational. It doesn't matter if you're a Stoic philosopher thinking about life's unpredictability or, an entrepreneur today stepping into a new market. Both need that leap of faith, that conviction, and also the humility maybe to adapt if things don't go quite as planned. It's about having the resolve to move forward even without perfect clarity.
Okay, so you take that leap, you start moving,
Uh-huh.
but then how do you keep it going? How do you sustain that momentum? This brings us to our next theme, I think, the discipline of continuous improvement. There's this great maxim from St. Jerome, good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best.
hmm It's not just about chasing perfection, right? It sounds more like consistent, incremental effort, like building something over time.
Yes, that consistent iterative progress is vital, like learning to ride a bicycle maybe. You don't perfect it instantly, you wobble, you adjust, you get a little better each time. But, and this is crucial, St. Jerome's maxim needs a bit of balance. Seneca gives us this really important warning. He says, essentially, know thyself. We need a true self-estimate. Why? Because, as Seneca points out, we commonly think we can do more than we actually can.
Yeah. Okay. So strive for better, but be realistic about your current capabilities. That makes sense. Avoid biting off more than you can chew, perhaps.
Exactly. Honest self-assessment is key. And this leads right into a really critical concept that comes up. The tyranny of perfection, right? I've heard that phrase. Perfection is the enemy of action. The Daily Stoic really hits this hard, doesn't it? They quote Epictetus.
Yeah. Epictetus says something like, we don't abandon our pursuits because we despair of ever perfecting them. If we wait for everything to be absolutely perfect, the ideal conditions, the flawless outcome, well, we often end up doing nothing at all.
It's paralyzing.
It really is. Psychologists even have a name for a related thinking pattern, all or nothing thinking. Or sometimes they call it splitting. It's that rigid black and white view, if you're not with me, you're against me. Or
Because this wasn't a complete success, it's a total failure.
precisely. And that kind of extreme thinking, it just breeds frustration. It undermines trying new things, experimenting. Because as our sources really emphasize, perfectionism rarely begets perfection-only disappointment. It demands this impossible ideal.
So the practical takeaway is focus on progress, not perfection.
Exactly. The goal is progress, however little that it's possible for us to make. Think about a new business venture. If they keep waiting, tweaking, trying to get the product absolutely perfect before launch.
They might never launch. The market moves on. You need to get something out there, get feedback, and then iterate. Make it better based on reality.
Which perfectly leads us to our next big theme, listening, deep listening, especially listening to customers. Peter Drucker, the management legend, had some really profound things to say about this, particularly for what he called the infant new venture.
What was his core idea there?
His core belief was really simple but powerful. Businesses are not paid to reform customers, they're paid to satisfy customers.
That sounds obvious, but I bet it gets ignored a lot.
Oh, constantly. Drucker saw it as a huge danger for new ventures. This temptation to think you know better than the customer, to believe you know what they should want, rather than listening to what they do want.
Right, like that lemonade stand analogy. Maybe you think of grape lemonade as the next big thing, but if everyone keeps asking for regular lemon,
You make regular lemon, you satisfy the customer, you don't try to reform their taste. Drucker really stressed spending time outside.
outside the office.
Yeah, in the marketplace, with customers and with their own sales force, looking and listening. That external focus is key for grounding yourself in reality. And what's really interesting is how this connects back to, like, Stoic wisdom. Drucker advised entrepreneurs to see the unexpected success as an opportunity rather than as an affront to its expertise.
So if something works that you didn't plan for, don't get defensive about your original idea. Embrace the success.
Exactly. Accept reality as it presents itself. Don't cling to your assumptions. Maybe you plan an outdoor lemonade stand, but it starts pouring rain.
Okay.
The unexpected problem, the rain, becomes an opportunity if you pivot. Maybe you quickly set up in the garage instead, and it turns out to be even more successful because people want shelter. You listen to the market signal, the rain, and adapted.
That's a great illustration. Turning setbacks into catalysts by being aware and adaptable. And that idea of awareness, of really paying attention, connects to our next theme, presence. Jim Elliot's directive here is so concise. Wherever you are, be all there.
Powerful, isn't it? It's not just about physically being somewhere. It's about being mentally, cognitively, emotionally engaged in that moment, which links back directly to Drucker's point, right? Be engaged with the external reality, not lost in your own head or theories.
It demands mindfulness.
It really does. And our sources also bring in some Eastern wisdom here. Through Siddhartha, he talked about 3 core capacities. I can think, I can wait, I can fast.
Okay, break those down for us. What do they mean in practical terms?
Well, I can think is about sort of slowing down to really process things properly, not just reacting. I can wait. Speaks to understanding that good things, valuable outcomes often take time, patience. Like waiting for Christmas morning as a kid. You know it's worth the wait, and I can fast. It's about discipline, maybe delaying gratification, practicing patience in a different way, like waiting for dessert even when you really want it now.
I like that emphasis on patience and deliberate thought. It feels countercultural sometimes, doesn't it? Everything is so fast-paced, and this idea of cultivating a quieter mind, there's an insight linked to that. When there is a quiet mind, there is nothing to fear, for all fear exists only within the thoughts of the mind.
Wow. Deep, right? And it connects beautifully to what Boethius said, something along the lines of, nothing is miserable unless you think it is so, and on the other hand, nothing brings happiness unless you are content with it.
So it's our perception, our thoughts about the situation that truly defines our experience, like the rainy day example.
Exactly. Same rain falling outside. One person thinks, ugh, this is awful, my plans are ruined. Another thinks, oh, perfect weather for building a blanket fort indoors.
Yeah.
The external event is the same. The internal thoughts create the misery or the contentment.
Which means a lot of challenges, whether they're in business or just life, might stem more from our own internal turbulence than the actual external circumstances.
That's a huge insight. And when you achieve that internal clarity, that quiet mind, it allows you to, as one source puts it, dance through all other distractions while staying focused on your actual goals. You're flexible, but anchored.
Okay, that's a lot of powerful stuff. Faith over fear, continuous progress, listening, presence, what holds it all together? This brings us to our final theme, and maybe the most fundamental, trust. There's this simple, profound truth. Whether it's a friendship or relationship, all bonds are built on trust. Without it, you have nothing.
Absolutely fundamental. And it's not just about personal relationships. It underpins everything we've discussed. What does trust look like, practically? Well, it's doing what you say you'll do. It's being honest even when it's tough. It's being kind when mistakes happen. Keeping promises. It's the bedrock of reliability.
And how does that connect back to the other themes?
Well, trust is what allows an entrepreneur to truly listen to customer feedback, right? To trust that the feedback is valuable, not an attack. Trust empowers you to act imperfectly, to try things without needing perfection because you trust the process of learning and iterating. And of course, it's what holds relationships together through challenges. That reliability builds resilience.
So trust in the process, trust in others, maybe trust in our own ability to learn.
Exactly. That trust provides the foundation. It allows for that faith we started with, the faith that can actually be bigger than our fears. So if we try to connect all these threads, look at the bigger picture. What this whole collection of wisdom gathered for August 10th seems to show us is really quite remarkable. You have ancient philosophy, Eastern thought, Christian insights, modern business strategy. They aren't really separate worlds. They all seem to converge on the same basic truths about how we flourish, how we thrive. It boils down to things like humble engagement with reality, patient persistence, and yeah, the courage to act even when things aren't perfect.
So, okay, bringing this all back home, what does this mean for you listening right now, whether you're dealing with a tricky personal situation or prepping for a big meeting at work or maybe just trying to live a bit more, I don't know, wisely? These ideas are super applicable. You don't have to be perfect to be wonderful, right? And you definitely don't need everything figured out before you can start making things better.
Not at all. Progress, not perfection.
Exactly. And maybe, here's where it gets really interesting to think about. If these timeless truths about faith, progress, listening, presence, trust, if they really are universal, what's just one unexpected area in your life, maybe, or your work? Where could you apply just one of these ideas starting today? And just imagine, how might that one small, maybe imperfect action, how might that lead to a totally new, maybe even exciting outcome? Something to think about.